Hello and welcome to The Cat and the Parrot. So today I wanted to talk about police visits. So say we get a police officer that comes onto school site and says they want to interview a pupil. Normally they ask for the designated safeguard lead. So your receptionist suddenly scrambles around to try and find you. Then they'll say, right, we want to interview a certain child. So you've got to try and find that child. Do we have to contact parents? That's my question. What's your thoughts on that? Because it gets a bit nervous as a DSL about whether you should be contacting parents, especially with ages. That's perhaps a criteria to think about. Say if they're a 17-year-old and if they're a 5-year-old, do we as a school have to contact parents to say that they're being interviewed by the police?
Okay, so with this one, we've got Section 47 of the Children's Act. Okay, so I myself had cases like that where we knew it was an urgent matter. The child was at risk of immediate danger, significant harm threshold had been met. On some of those cases, obviously we have to work with the child and the parent, and we kind of, unlike a Section 17 where we need consent. Okay, a 47 is more, we work more in partnership and inform parents what we're doing. Okay, in the state of the Children's Act states under Section 47, the 1889 Act says that we get involved when we believe there's child abuse suspicions, so, in the best interest of the child in their own families. So that emphasises the fact that we have to get involved to advocate for the child and speak to the child even in their own family. So that emphasises that we've got a say and advocate for the child, and we inform parents, but we don't necessarily need permission as such. So I've had cases where we do speak to parents about what we're going to do. Yeah, and we work with it as in we need their we need permission. Obviously, we can't and without an order from the courts, we can't do that. Meaning parents have got rights to say no. Right. But if they say no, and it's a matter where we really believe the child's at significant harm. So the ones that we've done that are when parents have declined, in the sense of actually, it's not okay for you to speak to my child. Yeah. They're the ones that we've taken the children into care under police protection order. So I think I said in another clip we did, social workers, we haven't got powers to remove children now, like today, right now, on this minute. The police they've got, the police protection order. And under the PPO, that lasts 3 days, 72 hours. And that's what we used in the case, a few cases I had, where the parent did not allow us to speak to the child. So it's kind of a one where, obviously we work in partnership. The Children's Act says that we have to work in partnership with families. Yeah. Work with them in a way that we're very sensitive around information, criminal evidence, all of that, to the point where I've had cases where potentially I didn't speak the language that the family spoke. Yeah. So one could argue they could speak to the child in a language I didn't know and then change the story. So we take all into account, and we don't normally let the parent see the child until we've spoken to the child, because we are aware of the guilt, retracting loads of times. You've had children retracting their statements. I was lying. I just wanted to see what had happened. Yeah. When actually, unfortunately, we've got the information now. Until we're satisfied that you were lying, we're going to speak to you anyway. So as a DSL, we got to ask the question. So say if the police turned up without a social worker, so just the police officers saying they wanted to investigate a child, would we as a DSL say, is this a Section 47? Or would we say, how would we? So I'd expect you to say, like anything under information sharing, obviously, and confidentiality. Yeah. You need ID. You need to know, have other parents aware? Okay. Yeah. Why aren't they aware? Yeah. And again, if they can explain to you the immediate danger or risk of the parent knowing, then under your policy, under your multi-agency bit in your safeguarding policy, you're actually covered where, you work in partnership with other agencies in the best interest of the child. So I know one of my independent schools had that actually, of a very wealthy family. And I remember they rang the police and social care because it was actually a physical chastisement and there was an injury. And they knew that the family would have flown a helicopter in. It was one of those ones. Yeah. To get the child. So they didn't inform the family, and there's an official complaint, and the agent was threatening this and that. But I remember in this case, I reassured the school that actually the Children's Act will protect you, because you did you followed the guidance of the child. Yeah. And what about age? Is there a certain age, like say they're 17? So again, with the Children's Act being up to the age of 18, it's one again where we know again sometimes children would cover for their families. Okay, with serious case of use and fatalities, being also older children, it's definitely the same. However, we know older children might try to run away. Do you understand?
True,
or they might shut down. So it's one where they're still a child until they're 18. So the ones I've had, they tend to be younger children, but I do know with the older children, we'll inform them better because they're more able to understand.
One of the ones I was recently involved in, the police officers said, because you're 17, we don't actually have to inform the parent. Would you like us to inform the parent? Which is quite interesting because obviously most 17-year-olds are going to be saying, no, thank you. But obviously I stood there as a teacher and said, I think you do need to tell your parent because I know to start with, and I think it would be best interest for you as a student. So I kind of encouraged them to it. But it was interesting that the police said, as a 17-year-old, we don't have to. I mean, it wasn't obviously a child abuse case, the one I was involved in. They were investigating something else. But I did sit there thinking, I don't know enough about this from a legal point of view. And that's why this has been really useful.
Don't forget also, you will not know why they're investigating. You don't know what they're investigating, and that's very, very confidential. So I've had someone, even as in my role as a social work manager, I've been to like golden strategy meetings where we've got different local authorities around a massive conference table, about 30 people of all the top bods on that, police, social care, etc., almost trying to break an organized crime, whether it's trafficking or whatever. Do you understand? And they're like really top confidential. So even in those ones, I've only been given snippets. of So that's it really. So I think it's just something more about the criminal evidence.
That's really helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Really good session. Thank you.